I'd
Yeah,
say,
definitely.
I'd say at least 6 weeks, because I used to be an open heart nurse.
That's longer than that, actually.
Yeah,
You made it sound like it was in months.
Maybe I'll sit over here.
yeah, it could be,
Yeah.
could be, depends on what shape he was when he was
Face on
in.
the-
No, better safe
Yes,
than
this
sorry
is-
when it comes
this
to
is-
rest, that's for sure.
I'm gonna watch the back of my head.
That's what I said.
It's colonoscopy month and working for Olympus, this is our colors and it's, we had a colonoscopy.
I'm very excited that colonoscopy chose blue
Yes.
as the color,
This is the
instead
color.
of another alternative that might have seemed more.
I didn't know it was.
Well, this is
colonoscopy
Olympus's
month.
color, so
Poor
let's
me.
keep it.
Go.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it, how it goes.
Good.
Chad, how are you?
Oh, he's quiet.
Yeah.
Like, did you just wake
What
up?
happened?
No,
Did
I'm
you have a
good.
bad day?
I was thinking about coming here with like a bathing suit on
Oh, no.
and like
Oh, no,
like a
no.
big
No,
beach
no.
hat and be like, this is what I'm
You don't
talking
see
about.
those super
Yeah.
white
Now,
legs.
you know what I
They're
mean?
just-
This is
Yeah.
why, for everyone's benefit, I'm bringing back the 19th century full body babies.
Thank God. Where women got yelled at if it was above their ankle.
Knees to elbows.
Modesty's not my prerogative.
Yeah, I was on the rails of trails just before I came in here, it was beautiful,
Oh, I
Oh,
bet.
it's a
And
perfect day for it.
lovely.
lovely,
Somebody got,
Beautiful day.
killed.
Killed, yeah.
better
Let's
look
not
up.
bring up the negative.
You better look up, Ross.
But I don't know where, well, I always
You know
do,
who
trust
did
me.
the litter pickup?
What's
Or
that?
right as
The
soon as
litter
I got
pickup for
home.
us for the EAC,
Yeah,
so if you go across the bridge,
Right.
it was right in that area.
Was
Oh,
it
in that
deadfall
area,
from, like,
above the
an
bridge.
ash tree or?
Across the bridge there,
Yeah, but it was
further up.
kind of where the property hits, a little
It's
further
Right.
up.
Well, I saw some big branches on the ground, and I was wondering if,
You're like my husband. You're like, are you a seal?
Yeah.
Yeah, a walrus. Filled with
Basically.
cold. That's
Cuckoo,
Kevin.
could you?
Right.
Call Kevin a freaking penguin. He's a, it's hot here.
Give me
I'm always
55
hot.
degrees, that's my
Yeah, you're a walrus.
I'm always
I'll
hot.
accept
Good.
it. I'll-
Clean's
I'll
always
enjoy my
freezing, I'm
walrus.
always hot.
These houses, they're hot.
Oh, yeah, no,
Like
Steph-
it's
Steph-
64.
Steph turns it up to 66. I'm like,
Oh my
we could just
God.
back it down a little
It's
bit.
66. Can you imagine? I would just smell it.
I do 68.
Mine said it's 72.
Oh, hell
There you
no.
go. I'm
That's so
moving
hot.
it.
I
You're gonna get a
Back in
roommate.
my bachelor days, 55.
don't like
But
it.
The heat pump works excellent.
I used to date a guy, this is 1,000 years ago, I mean,
Well, I
probably
hope so, you're married.
2,000 years ago. He didn't turn the heat on because his theory was this guy turned the heat on and this guy turned the heat on, so he didn't have to turn the heat on.
Oh,
We
right.
didn't make it.
No, it doesn't cut it.
Like, if you're too cheap to turn the heat on, I'm out.
I didn't bring my EAC holder, I brought my Parks and Rec folder.
When I'm home
And it's
alone
like,
at 60,
I-
perfectly happy. That's why I like sweaters and blankets. I want to
You
feel
can
like
put
it's
more
wintertime.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got some nice cardigans. I've got some old Hudson Bay blankets I'm a big fan of. Well, I can't use those things at 66 degrees. Those are made for like, you know, a cabin at 30 degrees in the Adirondacks. Great.
We'll go have it at my
Yeah,
house.
I've been having.
I was all excited, going through my, not excited that my uncle passed away, but going through his attic and making sure we found everything. And there was
It's like,
2 Hudson Bay
okay.
blankets from the 1950s that must have been dry cleaned and put up in the attic in plastic. Yeah.
Were they still in decent shape?
Oh, they were in plastic from the dry cleaner from 1954.
Okay.
Like,
They
Looking
didn't
at
get
that,
eaten up or
like
dried
they're,
up?
no, they're
That
completely
didn't get
encased,
too
they were
far,
brand
then
new,
it's like,
came right home and right
so
in the
many
blanket chest.
I still have wool blankets from my dad from World War II, in
Oh,
the
yeah.
Navy.
But you can't kill them. No, I still have, my father's Vietnam,
And,
era.
and Moss didn't eat them yet.
Maybe you and I can share this one.
You know, my dad had to have, you know, when I was living in Maine, and I'm like, where are you gonna sleep? He goes, on my army cot. I'm like, you're what? Because on my arm, I'm like, it's 150 years old.
Well, them fall apart,
So,
they
like, nah.
still sleep, they haven't changed them in 100 years.
Jesus
No, they haven't.
Christ.
Oh.
I go home,
same.
it's like,
The ones they were using 20 years ago were exactly the same as the ones they were using 20 years ago. I can't say for today, I'm sure some things have changed.
Hello, everybody.
Mr.
Hello.
Jordanowski,
Good
look at you. Yeah, everybody's so formal tonight. I should have worn a ball gown.
I got my own.
a ball
Look at
gown?
this, I know a ball
And
gown.
you're worried about me showing up in a bathing suit?
And I probably have hay in my
You cut
hair.
your hair, I think. Did you cut your hair?
No, I just put it on.
That's a dirty
He put it on.
accusation for men of our kind. This is, we are cultivating.
Cultivate.
We don't go cold chopping and come on.
Is that what
I,
you do
when
with
it,
your hair?
I donate it when it gets
We're
long.
not on
Oh,
yet,
lots
are
of
we?
You do?
Don't
I
answer the
think
We're
there's
not
a
on
trend
yet, are
for
we?
here.
We are?
Seems to be.
I
You
said,
donate,
what's
really?
long?
Russ, you need to grow
Well,
your hair.
see,
You're
I
a
did
young
Lux
man
11,
now.
they only wanted like 11
Yeah,
inches.
no, it needs to be long. Yeah, I've donated to that.
I can't stand when it gets long.
Sorry, thank you.
I used to have it long time ago, but not anymore.
Are these all ready?
Well, let's call the meeting to order. Begin with roll call. Drew Germanowski, I'm here. Vice Chairman Jennifer Helton.
Here.
Secretary Kathy McGovern.
Here.
Laura Ray.
Here.
Alan is not here. Cheyenne, not here. Chad Heinbecker.
Here.
Janine Bonham.
Here.
Russell Sutton.
Here,
Winfield Clark is not here. Kurt Balch.
Here?
Okay, Carol Schneider is here, and Harry Vitchik is not here. Okay, begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, there is no executive session, and we have no report from junior counsel in his absence. So moving into new business, which is support for the Watershed Coalition of the Lehigh Valley and Saucon Creek Watershed Association, who are applying for a grant at the Heller Homestead Park. Laura, I believe you want to lead the conversation. In the packet, we had a copy of the proposal, and then I think the operative action for us to consider is a draft of a letter from the EAC in support of that grant. So Laura, if you have anything to add?
Not really. The outline that was given from, this was written up by the Watershed Group, actually probably Jennifer knows more, gives a good outline of what they want to do. Several of us were out there and walked around the loop. It needs help. The signs, even though they're not there for that many years, there's several that have broken off and are gone. Other ones are rotting. So the signs aren't in good shape. Also, even though it's a loop, as I was saying, it's not well marked. So we ended up getting lost off the loop, and we were no longer on the loop. So we came back another way. So there's some help that can happen out there. And this was kind of like a spin-off lucky project of the other whole thing for the master park plan. The Watershed knew about this grant and thought we could start getting some work done out at the park, and we're all for it.
Yeah, I think that the opportunity to improve those grounds is a good one. And the Heller Homestead itself seems to be a popular place with residents. The times I've been down there, there were a number of other people enjoying an afternoon there. So when reading through the material, the proposal as it were, and reading through the draft letter from the EAC, I'm 100% supportive personally, and I didn't see anything in our letter that was out of line. In fact, I think it's consistent with what a good functioning EAC would recognize as important support. So is there any other discussion on that? Anyone want to?
Thank you for doing that.
I'm sorry?
Thank you for doing that.
I didn't do that. I received
I
this.
just put Drew's name on it.
Yeah.
It's a forgery.
Yeah, no, this was a draft submitted to us. So
To make it easy peasy for everybody.
Yeah,
Perfect.
so I think
I mean, you
it's
can
a-
reword it,
No,
obviously, if you want to.
I didn't think it needed any rewording. It seemed very consistent with what I would consider to be my views in support of something of this sort. And maybe it'll help start to get some momentum for larger accomplishments with outside funding at the Heller Homestead. So I think it's a good step.
Yeah, and the Saucon Creek Watershed also is doing a letter. The Saucon Creek Watershed is also doing a letter supporting it and offering volunteer hours towards it, so,
Okay.
so you know.
Yeah, so I can add, so, Parks and Rec did a support letter last week. And also at our council meeting, did a support letter, which I need to sign tonight.
Okay, good,
So-
very good.
Where is this grant being applied to?
Well, it's coming from the Greenway, the mini Greenway grant that the DCNR provide,
Okay.
and through the Watershed Coalition of Lehigh Valley. And we initiated with the Saucon Creek Watershed because of, you know, the ability to go in, and a lot of it's more signage and support from the township.
Are the grants a preset amount, or is it just drawing from a fixed pool?
It's a fixed pool, my understanding is, but we have to, the deadline's really tight. It has to be in the next couple days. And
Yeah.
so they're trying to
yeah,
get
no,
all the letters, yeah.
15, something
Yeah.
like that.
Drew, you'll see a copy there. It's already printed out for you just to sign off, and I have
Okay.
postage on I'll take it
yes, very
tonight on my
good.
way home and
Okay,
drop it
I
off.
was thinking that otherwise, I would ask you to submit me this in the email and I could put an electronic signature on it, but no, it's here, so.
We're doing live.
Good.
Okay, so do I hear a motion for me to sign this letter on our behalf?
Yeah. I move that you sign the letter as written.
Okay, second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay, wonderful. I shall sign this now.
How much money can you get from that?
I don't
I
know.
think it's up to $10,000 per project, I
So-
believe.
Yeah, I can find out, but
If you look at Lehigh Valley Greenways, everything's right there spelled out, because we were looking at it for something else, but it's very specific. And I think you can get granted up to $10,000.
That
And
sounds right.
I'm pretty sure the deadline is, either this Thursday or
Yeah, it's
Friday.
real soon.
It's soon.
That's why we gotta get this stuff in the.
My only question, do we need
That's
to ask
it.
for the full 10? I'm sorry.
no, they've worked with the township and everything, and there's a, you get the grant and then there's an equal, and you can
You have to have a-
apply it towards volunteer hours. And so the letter that came from the township requested like support from Roger and his maintenance crew for mulch and various items.
But
So-
my question is, we
No.
don't need to have an itemized request with the initial grant proposal.
Not at this time, yeah. No, in the future, yeah, there'll be
They'll expect
opportunity.
it with
Yeah.
the ask, but the initial letter is okay without asking. I only ask because I've worked with some grant requests where you better have what you're asking
budget.
for and it right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good
Well,
point.
the asker is actually the Watershed Coalition, so
We're just
the
supporting their.
supporters, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. There are no developer items, so we have updates and reports. This is a relatively sparse agenda, which is nice for a spring evening. So let's move forward on updates and plastic bag update. Laura, Ray, do you have an update?
We do. Me and Chad both do. So, do you wanna summarize? Sure. I can add a little to it
Make sure you
though.
have the mic.
We, Laura and I stepped out a couple weeks ago and we visited about 10 businesses in the area, had nice conversations with employees and owners alike. There's about 50 businesses on our list, so I would still like to go interview some more over the next month, obviously, and get a bigger feel. A lot of businesses are definitely using plastic containers or single-use plastic items. I would say that there's the minority use paper products already. But there were some advantages noted that using paper, especially for takeout food, keeps the containers upright, which is just one of those things that they, you know, the business community already recognizes advantages away from just plastic. So I didn't feel like there was a lot of pushback. Didn't seem like there would be a big issue. I didn't hear a lot of complaints or argument or, hostility to the conversation. Everybody was very nice about it, and it would be more like, if this is what we were told to do, we support it. There was a few people that actively were talking about helping the environment this way and taking pollutants out upstream.
That's exciting.
So I think we should, go forward with interviewing some more businesses and get a broader scope. But, we've made some progress, I think, in getting a sense of the receptiveness.
When you say businesses, did that include restaurants?
Yes.
Oh,
It
nice.
was over here on 378, the
Alright.
ones that are on the strip mall where the Be Social is, from one end to the other. So there's like 8 or so businesses in there. Chinese,
Did you get a
pizza.
sense that some of that support would relate to them providing paper or preferring for customers to bring their own reusables?
Well, I think, obviously, if you have a takeout place, it's gonna be, we might have to put that into how we write this in some ways. And I don't know if that's how that's structured in here, but if you're coming in to shop at a store and you're taking goods with you, having a reusable bag is understandable. But if you have a company that's selling you buckets of soup, you have your takeout order,
Yeah.
you're not gonna show up with your recyclable bag for that. They're gonna come to your house with that. So that might change this. But I still think that's, if without making any overt accusations, but the takeout establishments for sure have the largest amount of plastic waste.
Right.
Stacks of styrofoam containers
I was
sitting
gonna say,
in
what
there.
about the styrofoam?
Yeah,
We
so.
were gonna start small.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that would be
We're gonna focus on the plastic
Yeah.
bags here, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's something that is an incremental change that we can make. And, stability and the sturdiness of the bags is gonna be an issue, but that's something that I think they're gonna have to figure out. And whether they choose to charge 5 or 10 cents additional for these bags would be at their discretion. So,
Do you have any idea if plastic bags cost more or less than paper bags?
they're less.
Plastics are less than paper.
We should do a cost check
Just,
on that for a lot of them.
yeah.
But, and then some of them, the other thing was that they have them printed where they're logoed. So they would want to get the paper bags printed as well then too, perhaps. So that would be going into allowing them to have a transition period of a year or so to move out the old stock. But let's go talk to some more and see if there's any huge pitfalls in this.
Yeah, in our experience, it seems that either doggy bags from restaurants or a lot of takeout seem to just be moving more towards paper in our experience. And I never thought about the notion of stability of containers standing upright better in a paper bag.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So I'll say, I went to a couple more businesses, so I'll have to update the spreadsheet.
Okay.
I don't know if you marked that in there, the ones we went to.
I
in that
did update the
spreadsheet.
spreadsheet with the ones we've.
And then I think we can review it, because some of the businesses aren't bag-type businesses, so we can, I don't know if we marked them like that or not, or if you did.
Okay.
You know what I mean, like
We
the
can categorize them a
auto
little bit.
body shop or whatever. We were at that barber shop was closed over here, whatever. We saw some stores that it's not
Right.
the
Like
kind
the
of store
gym.
that would, the gym. Actually, we did go in there and ask them if they sold any kind of products, and they, like if they sold any nutritional stuff, but
As a
they
cup.
don't
They
have,
do smoothies.
yeah,
And you
But-
wouldn't, like, oh yeah, you would have. a
not plastic
lid there,
bags.
But not a bag. per
Yeah.
se.
But the lids.
But the
So-
lids and straws, yeah.
I had good encounters over the weekend, and actually, like, a customer joined in the conversation when I was talking to the woman up at Bechtel's. Very
nice,
positive feedback. Actually, Bechtel's was handing out cloth bags.
Oh,
And she told me that, she goes, some people won't take it. They want the plastic bag, which is, I don't understand that, but. So I'll put my notes in our spreadsheet
okay.
and we'll
Okay.
move on.
Thank you for doing that,
Nice,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
So the plan, Chad, is to perhaps visit a few more businesses, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the more the better, I think, both in terms of getting good feedback and information, but also so trying to enact something like this doesn't catch people off guard, which knee-jerk reactions aren't always the most well thought out. So if people have a chance to talk about it and think about it and learn of benefits, then I think it has a greater chance of being successful when implemented. So great. Thank you for your time on this. Okay, next thing on the agenda is selecting a date for the 2025 electronic recycling event and establishing a chairperson for that. And the two dates of September 20th or 27 are floated before us. So what do we think?
I'm good either day.
Either date is open.
Maybe the 27th might be better, because kids are back in school and everything.
Let's
Less
see.
distractions.
Either one.
Either one.
You tell me which day it's gonna rain, and then I'll tell you.
The day we
And they go back.
I thought we
like the
picked the
end of August.
27th.
I thought we did too.
Yeah, I have it in my
I think we
calendar.
talked about that, right?
Yeah,
I
27th.
thought we said the 27th last meeting, if I look through the
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
minutes.
27th, yeah.
27th?
So do we want to stay with that?
Yeah,
Does anyone want to step up to chair that event?
I mean, I can share it if you want.
Okay. Well, let's make that part of the
So
record.
then-
Jennifer is very interested in chairing the event.
That's it, it's true.
She enthusiastically volunteered.
September 27th.
Okay, great.
Carol,
And
what are
then,
the hours one more time?
Do we do 9 to 12, right?
It was like 9 to 12.
Okay.
What they do, and then we'd have to organize volunteers. And the volunteers would get here about 8:30.
I'll be here.
Okay,
I'll volunteer for that.
Yeah, barring something strange out there.
okay.
good.
As long as we're not some like pending sports thing,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, great.
Yes, right.
Right.
because that's always the thing.
I'll volunteer for that.
One's flag football.
All right.
I'll bring a sheet and we can double check. I mean, it's not that long if everyone wants to just
Not 9 to
stay.
12.
Chad will make banana nut bread.
I will. But only for people who show up.
Come.
So we're not going tires this year.
No. I don't think we need to do that like
Maybe
in
every
every
other
year,
year.
Every other year.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
I think
We
every
went
other year.
both ways. I don't know. I truly don't know. Like, should we do it annually, or should we do it every other year?
About 89
I say every
tires.
other year.
Kathy
Didn't matter
Foreman and
to
I
me,
were
but-
talking, and I said this once before, like, on the one hand, now people know, so maybe they'll be looking for it. On the other hand, you don't, you
Yeah,
know,
They don't
so,
show up every day,
you know,
thankfully.
it really doesn't matter. We can make it every other year.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay, next item, educational ideas for residents. What's listed parenthetically is MS4 stormwater management, rain gardens, rain barrels. I don't know that we have to limit ourselves to those items. I think I wasn't at the January meeting, so I wondered if those items were an outgrowth of talking about committee planning. I'll offer this thought, that the stormwater management MS4 best practices are kind of implemented by township engineers and so forth. And so that doesn't lend itself to much community engagement, does it? Whereas maybe some other things where people could actually change their behavior or adopt new practices might be of more help. I don't
So
know.
I have two things to say, if you don't mind, please.
No.
The MS4 was for us
Okay,
to
I see.
understand as an EAC, because when we are asked, I don't know how I got put in here, you know, it's a boo-boo, whatever, but the MS4, it was an idea from the EAC members for the EAC
Okay.
members, so that when we're looking at blueprints and when we're asked for an environmental impact, we understand what exactly they're looking for. However, I just found out this week, we can't, as a committee, ask for like Hanover Engineering to come and present to us. I didn't know that. I was unaware, for them, it's overtime, it's that whole
Right,
thing that it just didn't occur to me. So Kathy Gorman, answered to me, very, of course, very polite, but basically, you can't ask township personnel to come in the evening. They have to be compensated for that. So the idea was for us to be educated, but I didn't know about the second half till just yesterday or Monday, Friday.
One way that we might be able to still make progress with this, Carol, help me with this in my memory. We did distribute, I thought, with the township newsletter several years ago, a summary of MS4 best practices. Is that not true? Didn't we have a brochure?
There's a brochure,
Yeah.
I think that's why that was still on here, a matter of redoing the brochure and getting it out.
Yeah, so it might be useful just for us to start by having copies of the brochure at our next meeting on the agenda. And then with my hydrology background, maybe I could expand on some of that. But it would be a starting point.
One of the things that we could do is with the Northampton Conservation District, they have a new person that could probably come out, and I can email her and ask Paige. Did you meet her the other day? Mm-hmm. And see if she can talk about MS4 or Nate in that group, and that's just part of their role is helping EACs. So with your permission, then I'll send her an email.
Yeah, why don't we do that and also still have our brochure at our fingertips?
I want to say that I think it's a good idea for us to be educated on this. And maybe if we just need to find an alternate presenter than the engineer of record for the township to come in, we can all learn from that. So
I think the county's personnel is a good idea. So, yeah, we should do that. If you're willing to do that, Jennifer.
Yeah, I'll do it tonight because I have to respond to the letter
Okay.
tonight. Another question, if I can, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
You made me lose my thought. Oh, the committee that Alan was volunteered to go to.
we have
That
a
was,
planning commission.
yeah. I think we need to find a new volunteer to take that role. Unfortunately, I can't do it because it's during work hours. Is that an option that we could do due to his recovery period?
Do you remember, were they virtual things he was attending, or were they?
No, he was going.
It was both.
It was in Allentown on Front Street where their
Front Street,
office is.
yeah.
Right, but I didn't know if somewhere Zoom, make it easier for somebody.
Yeah.
Are they during work hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
How frequent are they?
monthly, right?
Quarterly, monthly,
think so.
something.
Yeah, I mean, we'd probably have to.
Willing to fill in.
And randomly, they have public announcement sessions.
Yeah.
So in essence, just to, Carol, just for keeping records straight, just keep in mind, we're basically just jumping a little bit out of sequence here, but that's okay, because this is on our agenda a
Oh, my
little bit lower.
apologies.
That's okay. No, I
Well,
don't think it matters. While we're talking about it, we should, this is a matter of functionality and making progress, so towards that end, we can come back to other educational discussion.
Because I wanted to talk about Chad in the
Oh, no.
EAC.
We'll get there.
Which is the next thing, but.
I want to go back and talk about rain gardens.
But we were just talking about the MS4, right, and bringing somebody in from the county, right? So that would be a perfect Lehigh Valley EAC topic. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Because I'm sure we're not the only ones that need to learn
And
about.
I'm going to go down through the Penn State extension and see if there's anything in there too from webinars that we can get our hands on.
But the thing about, and I'm jumping back to the LVPC, is that they're going to be changing that MS4, and that's what kind of led this conversation.
Okay.
So with those changes, we want to be on top of it because they're really promoting some of these rain gardens and, those areas. So that's full circle, yeah.
Do you think anyone from LVPC could visit with us? Like the other way around, rather than
No,
us going to
because
see
it's
them?
in development now. Like, these committees are working on changing the ordinance and following legal structure. So,
would be, I would be interested over the summer, because I'm not teaching. So June, July, August, though, I mean, I'm available during the day, so that would be an option for
I'd be
me,
interested to.
just
Yeah.
not until then,
Yeah, I think we have to get the schedule, but
yeah.
good.
So it
I
might
would be
make
open.
sense then to, with respect to educational ideas for the residents, for us to have the EAC learn more about MS4, then we could better decide whether to push a rain garden or rain barrel program or something like that. But I think this, the starting point would be for you to reach out, Jennifer,
Okay.
and we can have, if we can have that conversation with them as soon as our next meeting, that would be great.
Okay.
Well, with regards to the rain gardens, I attended the Penn State webinar on that a week ago. And, you know, they went through sizing metrics based on roof examples, how much rainfall, to where that you plant different species. And they went through a whole bunch of slides of native species. So it was very informative on how they build these. I was surprised, but one of their tactics is to build it out by putting cardboard over the sod to kill it out over the winter, and then you remove that. I would think you want to avoid any of the adhesives or anything from the cardboard, but I guess that's relatively minimal.
breaks
and
down.
it breaks down.
It breaks
So,
down.
and they don't even take it away, they just plant right through it again. So it was very informative, and I would definitely think that that's something we could bring to the community as far as whether it's something for individuals on their residents to implement these rain gardens for water runoff, or whether it's something in the township, if there's property that we have that could be
How would
served.
what would you envision to be the most effective vehicle for conveying information to the township? I mean, we've done things like brochures along with the quarter, it's a quarterly newsletter, right, that we normally distribute, or is it?
3 times a year.
3 times a year, yeah. So something like that, or do you think some sort of formal presentation or a distribution of web links to perhaps the Penn State
All of the above?
site, all of the
All
above?
of the above. I mean, we could host a rain garden speaker. I think that would be advantageous. I think that we could take some of the existing resources that they were already showing, and if we can leverage some of that art or content copy, put that together into whether it goes in the newsletter. And then these are gonna be recurring webinars as well that I would like to get publicized. And I know that our website is in a transition phase, but hopefully once we have a new EAC landing page, we can update that a little more frequently and easily. I mean,
Yeah, if there's, I mean, again, there's a lot of existing information and data sources. We just need to bring it to the attention of the residents.
right.
Yeah,
And that goes into, again, this whole Lehigh Valley EAC conversation about how do you get this information out there from all these disparate groups? So,
so as a follow-up, Chad, not to lean on you too much, but as a follow-up, since you participate in that, would you be interested in trying to compile some of these web-based resources that we could then share either through our website or perhaps as a little paragraph as part of the annual township mailing?
So
What do we think?
while you're thinking about the answer to that, I'm involved in a different organization. But one thing that helps, it's not a great answer, but you look for like-minded organizations. So you piggyback that information with the Saucon Valley watershed. You know, you piggyback that information with the Lehigh environmental, the Lehigh, I can't think of what they're called right now, the environmental whatever group. So, you know, you try to get the most bang for your buck kind of thing. So when you're networking, you know, that event, the rain garden event, you know, you invite this person in and make sure you put it on their Facebook and their Facebook and their Facebook, that kind of thing. It helps. It helps spread. You may not be hitting Lower Saucon Township residents all the time, but at least you're hitting like-minded folks that, you know, then the word kind of spreads that way.
right. Well,
It's a suggestion.
yeah, for sure. maybe there's other events that are coming up that we can advertise that are being hosted. I know there's a rain barrel. They're looking for volunteers right now to go pick up 65 rain barrels to take them to go do a demonstration for. So there's things going on all the time, and it's just a question of getting advertised. But if we could specifically maybe, you know, reach out. I know the extension here with the webinars, I can go back and try to contact the people that did that and request some additional information. I know that we've just been out with the Master Watershed Steward. There's resources there to communicate and get assets from. So I'll try to
No, that
pull
would be
together
great.
an information set for us on that.
Okay.
And if there is somebody who's willing to come out and do either an outdoor event, or maybe there's a facility in the township that we can go look at as a demonstration. I'm not sure. Do we have this at all on township property that we can say, like, look at this award-winning rain garden? That would be cool.
I mean, there's basically what they did at the Lutz Franklin parking area and park. There's a pollinator garden there that also serves as a rainwater retention pond.
Okay.
So in essence, functionally, that could be a showcase. There's parking there. There's a pavilion there. Kingston Park is what it's called, adjacent to the Lutz Franklin Schoolhouse.
Okay, right.
So that might be a venue for doing something. And then you have the advantage of a rain or shine with a pavilion. And the pavilion's 25 yards away from the garden. I mean, they're right there. So, yeah.
Well, maybe, whether it's someone to come in and talk to us here, or if we have a field trip, that would be fun.
Yeah, so I guess when you reach out to the county for a presentation, we could talk about this again, and if you're gonna look into some of the data sources, then I think at our next meeting, we should be able to make some decisions.
Yeah.
About hosting event. So if we can explore that in the meanwhile, that would be great.
If you need some help with that, John, I'll help.
Okay. I don't have much experience with rain barrels, but I know you,
They're straightforward.
but
Yeah.
you've done demonstrations with them
Yeah.
before?
Through Saucon Creek Watershed.
Okay.
We just did them last year, 2 years.
It's been a few, it's been a
years.
few years. The
been-
last thing we did was the compost
Compost.
bins.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's been a while for rain barrels here. I think the week after the rain gardens, they did the rain barrel one.
Okay.
I caught most of that presentation.
Yeah, I don't have the exact date in front of me, but I know the rain, I'll look it up in a second, and then I'll put it in the record.
Jennifer, the rain barrels that we have down at Sidersville Hall in the basement, are they the townships or are they
No, they're
watershed?
Saucon Creek, the watersheds.
okay.
Yeah.
Carol, when does the next newsletter go out from the township?
Last week.
It seems like we just got one or something.
Just got it in the mail, I think it was
on
Friday, it went out, yeah, so
I didn't get mine.
maybe in 3 months.
Okay, that's too
Did they
bad.
just get out?
The
Were they
reason
just
is,
mailed?
It was just mailed, I think, last Wednesday or Thursday, so I think we got ours here on Friday.
Okay.
yeah, I didn't receive one yet.
Slow, yeah.
Might be sitting there, mine might be sitting in my mailbox right now. I didn't get home yet to check the mail, but it's unfortunate the timing that now because I was looking ahead at the PA Department of Agriculture Nutrient Management and Spring Greening news letter that we received. That would have been nice to include perhaps, with a mailing, but the timing we just missed.
But we can put it on the website, right, and Facebook?
The information that I have in here,
Yeah,
I don't see why not.
yeah.
That, we should do that, I think.
I think so, because a lot of
I'm
people
not trying to
want to get
jump
out
ahead,
there.
but it fits in the same category.
The one that we have is stamped.
How did you all get it? Oh, it came from Shannon, right? I think it came from Shannon.
Oh, this letter,
Yeah.
okay. I'm not sure if they have it in a smaller format.
I'll have to see.
It would be, more like a
I
web
see what you're saying about the stamp.
shareable.
now I understand what you mean by it, the copy being stamped.
Based on here, there's a rain barrel workshop on April 29th. Or May 10th at the Seed Farm in Emmaus. That's what's on here. So that's another thing, again, maybe we can post to our site ultimately about these kind of events in the community. Again, if we can get the larger regional groups to share that information on a central database, then that might help make that a little bit easier. But yeah, I'll get some information more on rain gardens for that, and we'll see if we can get the MS4 from the county a little bit for our purposes. And okay, can I talk about the EAC?
Yeah, one quick question, who's maintaining the Facebook page? Okay, so you can add these things on there if Chad sends them to you and so forth? Yeah, okay. Okay, fabulous. So that's what we should do. If anybody has dates of educational events along these lines, just forward them to Carol, and the one important thing too is if these things change periodically, people who happen on the Facebook page here and there will start to notice those changes. And then I think that's a natural inspiration for people to come back and visit again and again, rather than looking at stale information.
For sure. You have to build engagement with activity.
We all end up sort of starting to recognize when something's not being updated and then cease to visit. So this is great that people are thinking of ideas to add to the pages. Try to keep it current. Okay, so having discussed that, let's move to the Lehigh Valley EAC, Chad, if you're ready.
Yes, okay, so I've reached out again to everyone on the group, and basically I have taken on the role in trying to drive this forward at this point. Everybody else who was involved with the decision-making is no longer in their positions. And so if we want to keep this going, it's going to be a grassroots, literally, kind of campaign. So they sent me what was the original Lehigh Valley Environmental Advisory Council's interactive platform and network initiative summary from October 24. This is the governing document on what we're trying to achieve here. And I was coming to tonight to kind of get some help and assistance in the networking for that. So as it stands, I know that we've just joined We Can Serve, but there was a person who departed there, Carolyn, okay? So I need, if I could request new contact information for who we communicate with at We Can Serve, so that I can reach out to them and have a conversation about what their capabilities are. They're also saying that... I don't. They're also saying that they've inquired, and this is from Arundhati Kanwalkar, who's saying that Birdtown, PA were contacted, but they couldn't provide a platform, but not with EACs that are not a Birdtown member. Then Northampton Community College would need a faculty member to sponsor the effort, was able to have a conversation with Anita Forrester, interested in exploring the concept further, so there remains a possibility there, so I'm going to reach out to that person as well. Alliance for Sustainable Communities as a possible supporter in this as well. So I have a number of contacts, and I'm going to keep moving forward on this effort. I don't know if we have a solution yet, anywhere in the near term, but hopefully we can do it. And then again, since I've been taking the Master Watershed Steward courses with Penn State Extension over the past few weeks, Jennifer and I were just out at a geology tour.
Awesome.
It was awesome. We started up at the Indian Tower in Nazareth to look out over Northampton County. Then went down to see some fossils along the Delaware, south of Easton, up to the
And we
top
did the
of,
Martinsburg.
Yeah, up to the top of the Kittatinny Ridge where the boulder field, and then where the two formations meet, right there at the Lehigh Water Gap. So we spent an entire day driving around and learning about the geology of the county.
Who led that?
Nate Pritchard,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's,
very well-spoken, very intelligent, easy to listen, very informative. 2 weeks ago, I was at Graver Arboretum, where the master gardener there, a man with 60 years of gardening experience, was teaching us how to properly prune rhododendron. And that was fascinating.
Wow.
I've never had so much joy picking dead heads off of a plant before. So that was awesome. And it's been a great course. But the point of bringing up that course is that they have a volunteer portal that has access to all these resources to go back and look at old webinars, MP4 files from the state, from the local, and it would be a perfect platform. So I've talked to them while we were there. I said, hey, can we have maybe a conversation about what this system is? Can you open it up? Can we use it?
but it's pen extension.
I understand, but it's so good. It's so clean for what we would need as a Lehigh Valley Regional EAC to be able to distribute and say, here's our calendar of events. Here's our PDF resources of our ordinances like we've talked about. Here's our information on rain barrels. Here's our information on, whatever
all
topic.
this is currently behind a Penn State security wall?
Yeah.
Penn State has for their course, for their courses. You're a student, you can get into these portals. So this is it, right? And to be able to deliver that, then you would rely on some other third-party services like Teams or the Google platforms or things like that. So it's like, then the question is the cost factor associated with hosting this whole thing and putting it together, and whether all the local EACs would be willing to put in some fund towards this.
But it sounds like the material exists. If Penn State could.
No, Penn's not. Don't get Penn State doesn't have the material that we're trying to distribute.
So where is that existing?
Every EAC has our own websites with our own documentation, our own list of calendar events, our own Facebook feeds. To be able to have that kind of come into one centralized location, I mean, that's kind of the ultimate goal here.
The lady that spearheaded this in the beginning, is she still?
The girl who came here was from Muhlenberg. She was an intern, and her internship has
ended. But
ended.
there was the meeting, that first virtual meeting, there was someone there who was spearheading the whole thing. I want to say Whitehall, but I don't really remember.
I think that's right.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, she's no longer, okay.
So.
Okay, thanks, yeah, let's,
Continue working on this.
yeah, please do,
That's
this is
awesome.
great. You're putting a lot of energy into it,
Yes.
very helpful. So let's just formally, with the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, we don't have a report from Alan for obvious reasons. So Russ, you would like to?
Yes.
Okay, so let's have Russ do that and report back each meeting, and we'll move forward. Carol, have we heard anything about Alan? Is he doing well? Do we know?
Last I heard was what everybody else heard.
Okay.
So
He indicated that it would take a few months.
Yeah,
he is home.
Oh, good.
He's part of the watershed, and he's doing fine.
he's recovering.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But he is home now.
okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have no public comment tonight. And so the spring greening, are we gonna try to get a clean copy of that to
I
put on
found
the
the PDF.
Facebook?
I'll
Okay.
mail it. I just didn't want to
Okay.
do it while everyone was talking. I got a PDF.
Okay.
It's on a lot of the township websites throughout the state. So
Okay.
how it's being distributed, it's a great source of getting it put on.
Yeah,
Because
so
I
then we
found
can
it.
put that on the
Yeah.
Facebook page easily.
Yeah, and when I found it, it was all different, communities,
Okay.
government entities.
Okay. So before, this sort of brings us to the point of reviewing minutes, but one thing I want to bring up is that I think we need to start moving forward, whether we do it with just the Open Space Committee working together to have a conversation about revisiting the open space program and, reviewing and then proposing any changes we think are appropriate that we could then bring back to the whole committee. I think we need to do that. We talked about doing that previously. There are some obvious needs for updates to the open space plan, the whole issue of the managing of the open space funds, given that they can be apportioned into acquisitions as well as maintenance. So I think we have to, as we requested at the last meeting, to learn the financial breakdown of those funds. I haven't heard anything back, so I can correspond with Carol again to try to get the records on
I've seen it,
that.
but maybe it wasn't shared more than council.
Okay,
'Cause
yes.
it's hard to keep track.
We didn't receive it, Laura.
Okay,
So if you could bring that data to us at the next
Okay.
meeting, and then we can pull together the Open Space Committee to function, in essence, as a subcommittee to look into the open space plan and discuss revisions. I would propose that we have an extra meeting among that group somewhere to do this, because we talked about doing that at the December meeting, and it is desperately in need of revision. So I want to make sure that we get that ball rolling, so to speak.
You read my mind, because I was gonna bring it up as well. We also discussed about inviting, Lower Saucon Township residents that qualify to educate them. That was all part of that same conversation.
Well, one of the key questions we should have is, do we want to look at revising the plan and then sharing new information with residents? There's no reason we can't reach out to people with large parcels of real estate. And so that's something that I could actually get information on.
I think a revision would be important to do the revision. And as a matter of fact, I'm working with somebody that works in an EAC in Nazareth or Macungie and getting some information. So I think that's important that we do a subcommittee. We can just meet on an off meeting.
And Laura just informed us that with respect to one of the open space acquisitions that's in process, that you reached out for a partnership. And
Right.
we might want to discuss
in the
making
works.
that a standard practice of ours again, as part of our revision.
yeah, Kathy's working on trying to get something set up, maybe even tomorrow. I don't remember what she told me. A Zoom call with the solicitor that we have for open space, along with Heritage.
Yeah.
I don't know if our solicitor would be on it, but just to talk through, because we used to have a contract with Heritage and they would work from beginning to end. So where we are right now with the one that we just approved to move forward on is kind of in the middle already.
Okay,
So if they would have to kind of catch up to do,
right.
so hoping
But
they
that's
can
good.
do that, because I think that's a big gap that we have where
I do too.
working with the property owner through the whole process and really getting a feel for them, because I don't know how much you guys actually even talk with the
We
property
meet
owner.
with them and then score the property.
Yeah,
That's it.
so there's probably could be a lot of open questions that people have that there's nobody to answer or
Right.
explain how the process goes, why it takes so long. So the one before kind of dropped off after, we did the appraisal,
That's right,
and
yeah.
then they were contacted with an amount and,
Not discussed.
they said no.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, maybe if there would have been more conversation along the way as to what to expect or not expect, or, it might, I'm hoping we could maybe still salvage that
And here,
somehow.
I'm just looking here at the packet that's before me, and it's a moot point to request funding information, it's here.
Oh,
So I didn't realize that. So, that's very good. Thank you, Carol, for, thanks, please pass on thanks from EAC to whoever compiled the data.
probably Kathy.
That was, okay, yeah, so
She's
we
the
can
number
pass.
girl.
It was an answer to your motions that you had.
Yeah, yeah, okay, great. I didn't realize that, and getting here kind of right at 6:30, I didn't look through, this information. Okay, so this is the response to our motion, so this is good news. We have information to work with. Yeah, this is
Cross that
perfect,
off my list then, but I'll have to look for it.
right,
But I
right,
knew I saw it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a nice detailed account. It has broken down the 25% and the 10% allocations. So at the moment, it looks like, just try to summarize, that there is 11 million in the open space fund total, and that breaks down to 2.3 million and for maintenance, and 8.9 million for purchase or open space acquisition. I feel a little better because I was doing back of the envelope calculations at the last meeting, and I wasn't too far off. So that, yeah, I wouldn't have been pleased if I was way off, so that's lucky. But, so this gives us, as we move forward, most importantly, it gives us an indication of what the funds are that are available. So we'll always be operating in a more financially informed manner than we ever were previously.
That's good.
So this is great. I will write Kathy a thank you letter on our behalf for doing this work. It's really helpful to us.
So I think, so you mentioned about looking at property or whatever,
This would have been
about looking at
taxes.
properties, the large
received.
parcels. And I know we already had that same list the several times before. Obviously, there's no new ones that turned up. I think maybe we might do good to look at maybe smaller parcels that are adjacent to conserved properties that might have some value, so.
You have to be careful with that. You have to be careful with that, of what you're considering smaller.
Well, not like 1 acre, but it doesn't have to be 10.
When it says maintenance expenses, who's responsible for that?
That's to manage it, like the heritage being paid services, or if there is something on the grounds that if it's open space.
But who actually does the maintenance?
It's probably the township to
Township
some
mostly,
degree.
or unless they have to hire a service.
Yeah, that's one of
So-
that's a major limitation of ours. We can only make recommendations, so the actual decision-making is done, for all of this is done at the township level. Yeah, council. So, but we can now make recommendations within the context of the financial situation. So this is I think this is a big step forward for us to know exactly what we're dealing with.
So if I'm reading this right, we had 2.3 million available for maintenance, which goes towards what we were discussing last meeting,
Right, so at the last meeting,
which is a
we were
legal.
talking roughly,
legal
the numbers
use.
were roughly 41,000, or was it 43,000, right in that range. So now we can contextualize that and realize that it's a very small percentage of what's available.
But there's already been spent 800, almost 900,000 of that 2.3. That's not what's left.
No, you have to look at the whole thing.
Yeah, the
Oh.
2.387 is the current balance.
That's what's left.
Yeah.
867,000 would have been spent for debt payment elsewhere.
Can we just start with, funds received, is that taxes? Where's that
Yeah,
come
that
from?
had,
And
that's
when
from
the
the
tax was
whether you
in
wanna call it- What
place.
is it, a surcharge? It's not a surcharge.
It was a tax.
It's a tax,
Millage,
yeah.
a millage.
0.25%.
Yeah.
Per capita, per household?
No, it was a 0.25 mil on your
On-
property assessment.
Property, it was a
Or your-
property
or your-
tax.
I forget,
That
was it on
comes
the
from the
income or the property? One or the other.
Referendums on the vote, that,
So the funds received came from property taxes.
Right, voted,
A special open space tax.
right.
This is how it's allocated.
And then grants, and then interest, and then
Right.
expended, then professional fees, then debt payment, then what's 25% and 10%?
That's what we discussed last
Yeah,
time, which
during the certain years.
you could, you had monies available.
The caps that were associated.
Yeah, we
Right.
talked about
It's
it
like a
last.
You were
Five-
only allowed
5
to have
years, we're allowed at a
10%
certain
that you could
percentage.
use.
Yeah.
Or 25%. So she didn't break it down year by
For
year, but
maintenance.
it's really not important.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically they slid over
As
to the
long as
balance.
she
of
did it right.
Yeah.
No, I
So
just,
we don't need to
it's, when you don't know, it doesn't,
And
so
then
then
the
maintenance
next,
and then balance of
yeah,
maintenance.
was spent.
What was that, $500,000 last year?
That's the Easton Road ballpark, so that's the big
Okay.
maintenance.
Okay.
Or,
Which one is that?
It's the
not really maintenance, but that's
column,
where that came from.
Interesting.
And it's
Which
Yeah,
one
that's a
number is
big
that?
one.
twenty
The biggest one
twenty-four.
at the, the 62% of all maintenance money that's been spent so far
This one right here.
is on
Now,
one
that,
line.
that, that was a one-year expense, is that true, Laura Ray? That was council, that was a result of a council vote.
Yeah, that's a, yeah.
That's the biggest hunk of money.
So hopefully that's, that won't be a regular
Correct.
outlay.
I'm gonna
Wow.
guess that was actually for clearing and whatnot, that kind of expenditure.
It had to be it was built on a hill, so
Yeah,
they had
yeah,
to make it flat.
Yeah, just
That's
wondering
the big
allowed versus
challenge.
disallowed maintenance uses, so I've gotta expect that had something to do with
That was more of a
rejiggering the
construction
property,
than an
yeah.
actual
Yeah.
maintenance.
Right, it was
It was, I guess you'd have to
construction.
use it as a maintenance of the property, but, which turned into apparently
Or an
construction.
enhancement of
They
the
don't
park.
have any water available there. They run it from a hydrant
Under,
across
under
the
the
pipe.
road.
But that's
on the
not
road.
anything to
And
do
are
with
they-
this.
Are they getting metered for that? Do they pay for that water?
I don't know, that would be from Hellertown, Water Authority, I would think, or Bethlehem.
That was Bethlehem, yeah.
Yeah, that would
I
be
don't know.
Bethlehem there. Yeah, that's that odd property
that's-
breakdown where
Right.
Bethlehem is an inlay.
Past,
Why only? What happened?
Because it ended.
so where we land in here.
No, I would assume this small amount on 2025,
True.
was that like a late payment? of-
Yeah, it's
so
like
probably
delinquent
somebody
taxes
delinquent
that they
tax.
keep
Dropping off.
Right. it's supposed
trickling
to-
in.
from a
The
hydrant.
open space property tax was,
I can't see a meter being.
It
it
ended.
had a limit,
Yeah.
like a 10-year or
You
whatever.
did 5 years, we passed referendums 3 different
So
times.
15,
Yeah, we
I
had
see.
15 years worth.
Yeah.
and then and
So
it's over.
really, the last year was 2021, but then, a fair amount
see.
of the tax money came in 2022 yet, and the rest are like
So-
delinquents that trickle in.
So moving forward, then you have to assume that you're not making this kind of money again.
No,
So you have to, moving forward, when you're spending this, it's not,
It's a static fund.
Yeah. Other than the
Correct.
interest
Static
earned.
fund. So what you spend, it's going.
it's gone, that's
Allowing
right.
then for investment returns, but
Yeah,
yeah, otherwise
exactly.
effectively a static.
That's important to know, though.
There's no conversation then for renewing the referendum, apparently.
no, it probably wouldn't happen with that much money sitting
Yeah.
in the fund,
Sure.
so.
Yeah, but my point is, 2 or 3 people participate, right? That number's gonna get significantly lower, and it's not gonna be replaced, is where I'm going with that.
About buying a property?
Mm-hmm.
You mean?
When you say 2 or 3 people participate, you mean in conserving land?
Correct.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Suggest
Correct.
that $9 million could disappear quickly if
Right.
large
Some
enough
of these people,
properties.
some people have a significant amount of money.
I think a big issue is that we really don't have a lot of large tracts owned by people who are interested in conservation
Right.
or selling the property
And the
outright.
clarification, if I may add, is when they do appraisals, they're not appraising their home. It's not like
No,
real
just the
estate
land.
appraisal, it's just the land, and so it's a whole
No structures.
different, right, so it's a different,
But are they
And-
appraising it? I have.
See, the
so many
outlays,
questions.
but
the
that's
outlays are for
where-
different things. We've mostly conserved lands where we're buying development rights, not the properties.
Yeah, we're
There's
not
only
buying
a
property
handful of
mostly.
properties that were outright purchases. And I think one reason why some property owners have their property assessed, they expect a much larger financial benefit for preserving their land. And then when they realize it's not nearly the cost of, the value of the property,
Correct.
they decide not to
Okay.
do it.
So
Now
that's
I'm-
where
now I'm
having
on
the
same page.
Conservancy involved at the beginning to really educate the homeowners on it, because it's complicated, and I hear the stories all the time at council meetings, and people don't understand the process, and yeah, we're not buying houses, it's not an
I know
appraisal
that.
of your,
No, I know
yeah, all that
but
stuff.
Conserving the land.
The development
Right.
rights, that's a whole different
Development rights.
Right.
can of worms.
Right, and it has to be based on, not, if we get a variance and we could put 20 houses here, you know, you have to base it on as is.
current
You know.
market.
And someone
All
in the
that good
know of the
stuff.
dynamics could probably go through these funds expended and say, oh, that was the
So-and-so.
X and
property.
X property, that was a purchase, or so forth. So I can, in my mind's eye, think of only three large property purchases come to mind to me. And so it's probably some of those big years were when each of those three properties were outright purchased. I mean, the obvious one most recently is the former golf course.
Right.
That was an acquisition, not a conservation easement. So, and I think I wasn't involved in this, but I think Polk Valley Park was probably
It
one
was.
of them.
Right.
And then there's an adjacent track to the golf course that was an outright purchase, but most of them are conservation easements, which are much lower expenditures. Yeah. Okay, so I will try to convene the open space group to start conversations on open space, a revision of the open space program. And so that brings us to review and approval of minutes. I see that several people have recommended some corrections to January minutes. So let's start with January minutes first. Are there additional corrections that anybody picked up on to revise January minutes or correct January minutes?
So in other words, once all these funds are used up, that's the end of it.
Yes.
Unless, there was a
Do a
new
new referendum.
referendum
but-
floated before the township during voting.
Carol, a couple questions on the minutes. When we do a yay and it's all of us, you put EAC? Okay, I don't know if that's always clear to me that, I don't know if you should say 5 yays, 7 yays. I don't know, because,
Tell me what you want.
I mean, we could be reported several ways. We could say unanimous when it's unanimous, the majority, or a breakdown numerically of the vote. So is there any reason to have a preference for that?
yeah, I read the notes, but I didn't catch it, but she would put EAC if it was all of us, like we did one tonight. And I find that
Yeah.
a little confusing, but that may just be me.
I think it might be sensible then to just simply say one of two options, unanimous, or three options, unanimous, the majority, or, so it would be, no, just those two, because it would either be unanimous for or unanimous against, or majority for or majority against.
Then all you have to do is just repeat it that way,
I'm sorry?
into the minutes, repeat it that way into the minutes, and
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah,
sure.
That's fine. Because we never want to identify individuals, I don't believe, and so, which we haven't either. Is that amenable to everybody? Do it that way? Okay.
Yes.
So, with the January minutes, do we move to approve them as amended? Okay, I'm sorry?
Yeah, I had a pile for January, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I have
Okay,
no comment
go ahead.
I have no additional comment on
Okay.
January.
February minutes, I didn't have any, I didn't see anything that I
I
felt.
think I only had one.
There were a couple trivial things,
Yeah.
repeated words and so forth, but I figured to let that go. That's when we stumble, when we speak, and I say, we should.
I know.
And
And
I
then,
just
Laura,
figured it wasn't worth,
I got 11 of them that you had for changes for the January, and then February, you have a correction for typo for Brian Tucker's name?
Yeah, and I think I have it spelled wrong anyway. It's
Yeah, I had it, I
I-E-N,
think I had it spelled,
E-I-N.
yeah,
Yeah, like, yeah,
yeah.
I got it. Yeah, he's not an I-A-N,
No.
he's an I-E-N, but it was opposite anyway. He's a trick speller.
okay, so it sounds to me like January and February minutes are approved as amended.
And I have an
Okay.
item
Yes.
before we
Laura.
adjourn. So I didn't find a space to put this in here, but Heritage Day is on May 17th, 10 to 3. They hold things down at the grist mill in Hellertown, and then also at the Heller Park. So if the EAC is so inclined to consider maybe setting up there as a place to distribute information or hand out, have discussions,
So let me
that would be a place, so we can think about it. So I just wanted
Let
to
me
mention it.
segue that very quickly, if you don't mind. I'm the vice president of Lower Saucon Township Historical Society. So just so you know, Heritage Day is about colonial times, like the Franklin Schoolhouse and like between the 1800s. Just so you know, it's not apples and oranges with this. I don't think anybody's gonna mind if you're there. That's not the point. But we're trying to, from the Historical Society, we're trying to bring in, historical artifacts and presentations and stuff and spinning wool and all that fun stuff for the kids. We'll be at the grist mill, and then Hellertown Historical Society will be at the Heller Homestead, and they do the same thing, and they have the Civil War reenactors, and they have, so that's the venue. The venue is Hellertown and Lower Saucon Historical Societies, and more like, from colonial times up to like the mid-1800s, so just FYI. So, I do remember last year, the Citizens was there, which is fine, for Responsible Development was there. You guys were in the corner.
Were they?
Yeah, but it just FYI, that's the venue, and then if you wanna participate, so.
Okay.
But it's Creekside, so it's a good location for
And the Saucon
water,
Creek,
environmental kind of things.
Saucon
Yes.
Creek watershed can go in together, like we did before.
Mhm.
You want to do that?
Yeah, it was cute. The families walked from the Heller Homestead down the rail trail to the grist mill. It was very nice. It was very nice.
So just something to think about.
Good. Okay, motion to adjourn?
I'll make a
Second.
motion.
Second.
Get an arm wrestle.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
We'll have to take turns every month.
I just have a question.
Is that the real time?
Off the record. I just want to show
7:40.
people
Yeah.
some things. I have a problem with it, and I want to explain what I'm doing, so people understand, so they don't get it from another source as well.
Yeah, yeah,